You know, there's a great video by Will Smith who talks about his experience skydiving, and he says the best things in life are on the other side of fear. Morning world. It's Saturday morning and I'm out for a hike through the Niagara Gorge, and one of the last 3/4 of my hike it started to rain, which is fine, no big deal. So I get up top and I'm walking in the rain, and as I get close to my truck, the rain starts to die down a little bit, and I start to think, oh geez, I think I can get another round in. Thinking, okay, fine. And as I'm thinking about, well, is it going to keep raining? More I'm thinking about, is there going to be lightning? Because, I mean, climbing up metal stairs in a lightning storm isn't necessarily the best idea. So I'm sitting there thinking and going, okay, well, maybe I can get it in. And random thoughts start to come in, and I'm sitting there, and all of a sudden I'm thinking about Mythbusters and how Mythbusters busted the myth that if you run in the rain you get less wet. In fact, found out that when you run in the rain you get more wet traveling the same distance than if you walked. And I think it has something to do with the fact that you're actually coming in, because you're moving faster, you're coming into contact with more rainwater than you would walking. Now some sciencey stuff that I honestly don't remember, just remember the episode. Anyways, so as I'm thinking more about that and getting more philosophical about running in the rain and walking in the rain, I'm sitting there going, well, isn't that really the perfect fucking metaphor for life? I mean, rain. I'm thinking about rain. Well, rain is fear, and I'm sitting there thinking about my own life, or even just the start of this morning. I'm sitting there going, it's gonna rain. I'm not gonna be able to go for a hike, and then I get to the point where I'm like, well, wait a minute. What am I afraid of about hiking in the rain? Am I afraid I'm going to get wet? Well, if any of you see any of my videos, you know that I hike under a waterfall. So there's a section where I get wet. So getting wet's not a factor. So what was it about the rain that I was afraid to go for a hike in? Maybe it was lightning, but okay, sure, that's valid. But I'm sitting there going, why? And I'm thinking, well, doesn't that really kind of apply to everything in my life? You think it starts to rain and people get afraid. They get afraid to get wet. And there's a lot of reasons they might get afraid to get wet, and I'm not judging why that fear exists, but they start to run. They run from the fear. They run from the rain, and the end result is they end up getting more wet. They end up getting more entrenched in what they were afraid of than what than they would be if they just went, okay, it's happening. It's happening. I just have to I need to deal with it at this point in time. And with dealing with it is walking, or resigning yourself that you're gonna get wet. Okay, I'm gonna get wet. That's a factor. So I'm going thinking, and I'm like, well, that's been my life. I think not my life. That's a misnomer. But it's been my life for the last while. When I think about my struggles with my weight, I've been heavy for a long time, and it was tough for me as a very active, very fit teenager and young man, and heavily involved in martial arts, and I ran a lot, and was involved in wrestling, and it was just, I was active and I was fit. I was always fit. I mean, I was never a big bulky kid, a lot of muscle, but I was fit. And then life happened. I got married, and the things that I did kind of tapered off, and as I stopped exercising as much, I gained weight, and it happened naturally. And I got to this point where I'm like, I'm really deep-rooted not happy with the way I am right now. I'm not happy with how heavy I am. I'm not happy with how unfit I am. I'm not happy with the fact that I got high blood pressure and had to go on blood pressure medication. And, so I'm sitting there going, I got to do something about this. I gotta lose weight. I gotta start exercising. I gotta eat right. And there was just this fear, this that kept me from doing what I wanted to do. It kept me from doing what I needed to do to improve myself and make myself happy. To change my own self-image, my own self-worth for myself, not for anybody else, for myself and how I was feeling. And I was just afraid. I was afraid that I was going to fail. I was afraid it was going to be too hard. And for years, I lived like this unhappy being who would refuse to take his shirt off, didn't want to go to the beach, was very uncomfortable taking his shirt off at the beach. I was like, and in some way I envy, some of these older gentlemen that they just don't care and they take their shirt off and, they just resign that this is me, and, good on them. But I wasn't happy with my self-worth, and I really wasn't pushing forward. And I got to the point where I'm like, it was in January, right after my birthday, right after my 44th birthday. And I get on the scale and I weigh 278 pounds. And I was like, fuck, what is going on? I've had enough. And that was the point. That was the click I needed to say, this fear is of doing what I need to do to improve, really wholeheartedly committing to what I need to do to improve, is crippling me. And I've got to be done with it. I've got to shed it. I've got to face it. And then so then it was just, I started to drive forward. And I'm not going to lie, there are times where I'm like, oh, this is hard. I just want to give up. I don't want to do this anymore. But I found something inside me that basically said, listen, this is on you. Nobody's going to do this for you. So if you want this, you've got to come over this. You've got to come past this fear. You've got to drive yourself forward. You've got to build your own internal motivators. And I'm going to tell you, I haven't got it locked down. I still struggle. This morning, it was going to rain. It wasn't raining. It was going to rain, and I'm debating whether or not I go for a hike. Well, why? Why am I debating this? What's the worst thing that's going to happen? It's going to rain, and I'm going to get wet. So I guess, the point of this rant is for all of you that may be watching, and, is there's going to be a point where you have to do it for yourself. You have to find a way to overcome that fear, that piece that's holding you back. There's a great video by Will Smith who talks about his experience skydiving, and he says the best things in life are on the other side of fear. So, for those of you watching, there are going to be things that are going to happen. There's going to be things that are going to prevent you from accomplishing what you want to accomplish. There's going to be internal fear that's going to set in. And you got to try and find that piece, that one thing that's going to drive you forward. Because the reality is when you run in the rain, you're going to get more wet than you ever hoped you would. That's it for now. Have a great day. Cheers.
And I'm ready for love. Let the stormy clouds chase everyone from the place. Come on with the rain, I've a smile on my face. I walk down the lane with a happy refrain, just singing in the rain.